But let's talk about some of the other players. There's 7 other people who are still vying to win the PDC World Championship on the 3rd of January. If you look at the betting odds now, Michael Van Gerwen has replaced Luke Humphries as the bookies' favorite to win the title. Alex, of course, your champion, Gerwin Price, is now out of the tournament. Mine, Luke Humphries, is still in. Who is your new winner, though? Who do you think is going to be the winner? Because obviously that person won't end up going on to win it. But if you had to pick someone, who would you pick now?
Yeah, I'm going to have to make another tip, aren't I, to win the tournament. Your pre-tournament pick, Luke Humphries, he's still in the running. So, Burton, we'll see if you're going to stick with him or jump ship before the quarterfinals in a moment. But I've got to pick a new winner, as the Iceman went out to Brendan Dolan, and he deserves a mention, I think, because he is in that same quarter of the draw as Luke Littler. And before the tournament, we were calling that second quarter the toughest section to predict. It had Gary Anderson, Gerwin Price, James Wade, Peter Wright, but we have got Luke Littler versus Brendan Dolan to determine the winner of that quarter of the draw. And Brendan, he's done a lot of damage. His first game, you mentioned it, against Mickey Mansell, that went to a sudden death leg, and you see that game on paper before it is played, and first game of the day in the afternoon. Not the most glamorous of ties, should we say, on paper, but if you missed it, you did miss out, because it was a great game. It went all the way, both players averaging over 95, and one of the games of the tournament. And Brendan followed that up with wins against Gerwin Price and Gary Anderson to reach the last 8, and he is proving a tough nut to crack so far. I think particularly last night, that game against Gary Anderson, went into that 2-0 lead, and then Gary Anderson came back, went 3-2 up, and you're probably thinking that's Brendan Dolan's race run. But what did he do? Came back and won the next 2 sets to get over the line. So an impressive run so far. I don't think he goes on to win the title, though, so I've got to go with someone else. And my pick, I'm going to work my way backwards from my pre-tournament predictions. So my winner, Gerwin Price, he's out. I had him beating Michael Van Gerwen in the final, so I'm going to go with MVG as my new winner. Yes, it is a safe pick. I know he is the favourite with the bookies, but to become a 4-time world champion, reclaim the title for the first time since 2019, he's going to be my pick to win the tournament now. And looking at how he's got on so far, not dropped a set. He's playing at a consistent level, 98 to 101 averages each game so far. We've not seen a show-stopping 105 average like we've seen with Luke Littler a couple of times, and you do feel like that's always in the locker for Michael Van Gerwen. At some point, that game is still there, and he's still in the tournament. We've not seen it yet. It could come out in the quarterfinals, semi-finals, maybe the final, who knows. But I do think there is still some levels to come from him. And listening to some of his interviews during the tournament as well, there's been a few eyebrow-raising remarks, so I won't mention those ones. But one thing that has stood out for me was his commitment and dedication to this tournament. And he might do it every year, I don't know, but he is the only player outside the UK left in the World Championship. And he spoke about travelling back over Christmas, missing that time with his family, and he's going to be over here for New Year's as well, because he's going to be playing on New Year's Day. And before the tournament, he spoke to our colleague Matthew Kiernan at the launch with Paddy Power, and he talked about the focus that he's got for this event, not bringing his kids over with him like he does for some of the tournaments. So he looks to be fully dialed in, and it's been a long time between world titles for MVG. This is the 10-year anniversary of his first one back in 2014, and I'm sure he's not alone in thinking that he should be on more than 3 world titles by now. But my prediction, he's not going to be a 3-time world champion for much longer. I'm going to go for MVG to win world title number 4. He's going to go into the new season with that world title and also the world number 1 ranking, both back in his possession. Burton, are you sticking with Luke Humphries, or are you going to come on board the MVG train with me as well?
I guess. I mean, this is 2 different questions. Am I willing to change my pick, and do I actually still think Luke Humphries is going to win the title? And I think those are 2 separate questions. I'm not changing my pick. Do I actually still believe it? I'll say no, but I'm not changing my pick. I'm going to make an argument for Luke Humphries, because I think it's not as far-fetched an argument as it might seem after his last 2 matches. Because if you go back, now it's been a few days since his 3rd round tie against who then became the last German in the field, in Riccardo Pietreczko. He was down and out in that match, and he played better in the last 3 sets than he did in the first 4 sets. I mean, he was averaging south of 90 after when he was 3-1 down. In fact, he was still averaging south of 90 when he was 3-2 down. So it was really the last 2 sets that he lifted his game. But more than anything, Pietreczko's game just disappeared. And it's not to take anything away from Humphries' comeback, but it was made much more simple by the fact that Pietreczko just didn't have anything left in the tank. And that goes to what I said about Luke Humphries earlier. We don't know how these players are going to perform in a sixth set, in a seventh set, in an eighth set, as a match gets really long, when they don't have that experience of having to do that on the stage before. And we learned that right now, Ricardo Pietreczko didn't have that energy. Luke Humphries did. He's played World Championship quarterfinals before. He's played best out of 31 matches on consecutive days at the Grand Slam and won them all. So we knew that he can maintain his level or even up his level if needed, and he did. And that's how he got over the line. And then in the fourth round, he was just as fortunate, if not even more so, against Joe Cullen. Cullen missing those 2 darts at double 18 to win early in the fifth set. It went to a tiebreak. It went all the way. And then the farcical 10th leg where Humphries missed 8 darts at double for the match. And really, you could say 10 because he missed first dart at double 5, hitting double 12 to bust, costing him a couple more darts in that leg, and then lost the leg, but then came back and got over the line, especially after Joe Cullen didn't really set up from 1-2-1 all that well, scoring just 41 to leave 80. Took a bit of the pressure off. There was still obviously some pressure, but took a bit of the pressure off that ton that he ended up hitting on double 10 last dart in hand. Those two matches, if anything, could be used as evidence that Luke Humphries is in a better shape going to the quarterfinals than he would have been, because he's been pushed. He's been tested. He's been as close to elimination as you can get, having to watch his opponent miss 2 darts for the match. And in another match being 2 sets down, having to win the last 3 to come back in it. He's been tested and he's gotten through that. The fact that he's been on the canvas is going to help him know that he has the game in the locker to get through anything. And to go against someone like Dave Chisnall, who's playing well but hasn't been tested really so far in this tournament, I think is a good sign for him, because Chisnall will be able to push him, but he's not yet had to get up off the canvas or knock his opponent down on when they're both on the canvas. I just think Humphries is that more battle tested. So I'm not going to change my pick. The fact that he's been battle tested is going to do him a world of good in that quarterfinal. And assuming he goes against Michael Van Gerwen, it's going to do him the world of good in the semifinal. And whoever he goes against in the final, same thing. So I'm sticking with him. Do I really believe it? I don't know. He's just not looked as mentally sharp and as mentally strong as I thought he was, and as I know he really overall is. Maybe this tournament's getting to him. Maybe being among the favorites for the world title's getting to him. But I'm not going to change my pick. I'm going to stick with him. I selected him before the tournament started, and despite everything telling me to change my mind, I'm not doing it. Luke Humphries is going to be the world champion.